This is Dr. Bryant, teaching crime analysis this summer. We're already on our second topic, the theoretical foundations of crime analysis. Theory has historically been downplayed in law enforcement in general, and specifically in crime analysis. Sociological and psychological theories that explain the root causes of criminal activity and why people become criminals really aren't relevant always. However, crime analysis requires a different kind of theory, one that assumes a motivated offender and then begins to look at other kinds of proximate causes for crime that are a little bit easier to deal with, such as space and time. Traditional criminology focuses on criminals and why they are criminals. Personal and social factors are beyond the reach of everyday police practice, as we just mentioned. Most traditional theories focus on motivations, but ignore opportunity, victim, and environment. They ignore the opportunities required for a crime event to occur. Crime analysis, as we mentioned, depends on new crime theories, so to speak. The focus here is on crime, not criminality, on events, not dispositions, on near, not distant causes of crime, how crime occurs and not why it happens, along with situational and opportunity factors versus psychological ones. The main body of theory that crime analysts can utilize from criminology are kind of under a large tent we can call environmental criminology. Environmental criminology does not attempt to explain root causes of crime or why people are criminals. The focus instead is on the various aspects of settings in which crime occurs. It asserts crimes occur only when the opportunity exists for that crime. Take the opportunity away, no crime occurs. Some settings contain more opportunities for crime than others, especially settings that assemble strangers where low social control is the predominant characteristic. Theories of environmental criminology help understand how opportunities are created. The goal is not to explain why a specific offender commits a specific crime, but to understand the various aspects of a criminal event in order to identify patterns of behavior and environmental factors that create opportunities for crime and other unwanted activity. Here we have the basic problem analysis triangle, which depicts really the main parts of routine activity theory, which is kind of a cornerstone theory of environmental criminology. We have a motivated offender on the left slope of the triangle. We have a place on the right slope, and along the bottom, a target and a victim. These represent the three necessary conditions for a crime to occur. Here you can see an elaborated version of the problem analysis triangle. Not only do we have offender, place, and target victim, but we also have the associated agent of social control that can be connected with each. For example, an offender who has a significant other attached to them, what we call a handler, is unable to commit a crime no matter how motivated they might be due to the impact that the handler has on them. An unhandled offender, on the other hand, can be extremely dangerous. We'll look at each part of these, each part of the problem analysis triangle, the elaborated version, in the next few slides. Offenders are frequently influenced by people that matter: parents, spouses, peers, teachers, coaches, probation officers. These are all examples of offender handlers. In much the same way as offenders can be controlled, so can places. Places are sometimes watched and managed by caretakers. This might mean a homeowner or long-term renter, a building superintendent, a bartender, a street vendor, or a train station manager. These are known as place managers. The original formulation of routine activity actually did discuss the social control of target or victims with the concept guardians. A target is property and a victim is a person. People can protect and oversee themselves, their belongings, or those of family, friends, and co-workers. Guardians also include public police and private security. A theory that works in concert with routine activity theories but focuses more on offenders is known as rational choice theory. Rational choice theory argues that offenders make choices about committing crimes based on anticipated risks and rewards. If given a chance or the right opportunity, any person will commit a crime. This is useful for crime analysis and policing because of the importance of determining why groups of offenders choose to commit particular crimes systematically. It also suggests that individuals will decide not to commit crimes when the risks are too high or the rewards are not adequate. Perhaps one of the most influential single theories of crime for crime analysis is known as routine activities theory, the basis of our problem analysis triangle. Routine activities theory looks at how opportunities for crime change based on changes in behavior on a societal level. For example, Americans' routine activities were responsible for increases in crime rates in the United States from 1947 to 1974. This suggests that societal changes in behavior can decrease opportunities as well. Just to review the problem analysis triangle again, the elements of routine activity theory are a suitable target, lack of a capable guardian, and the presence of a motivated offender. And then we can also add in an unmanaged place and an unhandled offender. A synthesis of rational choice theory with routine activity theory gives us what's known as crime pattern theory. Crime pattern theory seeks to understand how people come together in space and time within crime settings. It argues that criminal events are most likely to occur in areas where the activity space of potential offenders overlaps with the activity space of potential victims and targets. An individual's activity space is that area that becomes familiar to him or her through everyday activities. It suggests that offenders commit crimes in places they know or frequent. Situational crime prevention has become another very important model to the environmental criminology perspective. It's a practice initiated in England in the 1980s by Ron Clark and his colleagues. It's based on some of the concepts of environmental criminology. It looks at why crime occurs in specific settings and seek solutions that reflect the nature of those settings. It provides specific actions police can take to address crime problems in local settings based on the crime analysis of those problems. Situational crime prevention shows us 5 ways to modify a situation to make it safer. First, we can increase the effort the offender must make to carry out the crime. We can increase the risks the offender must face in completing the crime. We can also reduce the rewards or benefits the offender expects to obtain from the crime. Reducing or avoiding provocations that may tempt or incite offenders into criminal acts. And finally, removing excuses that offenders may use to rationalize or justify their actions. Let's take a look at each of these. First, make it more difficult for the offender to commit the crime. Well, there's 5 types here. Target hardening, using deadbolts, special locks on sliding glass doors, controlling access to facilities, reducing the number of entrances, exits, or installing gated barriers, screening exits, using electronic merchandise tags requiring a ticket for exit, for example, deflecting offenders by closing streets or implementing a police beat office. Finally, controlling tools and weapons, restricting sales of spray paint to adults, for example. Let's look at the second. Increase the offender's perceived risk in committing a crime. 5 types. Extending guardianship, for example, joining a neighborhood watch group, carrying a phone, not walking alone. Assisting natural surveillance by improving street lighting or maintaining landscaping. Reducing anonymity by requiring school uniforms, requiring taxi drivers to display identification. Utilizing place managers, having 2 clerks on every shift at convenience stores, or using formal surveillance, installing video cameras and burglar alarms. There are 5 ways to reduce the offender's anticipated rewards from committing a crime. First, concealing targets. For example, parking vehicles in a garage instead of on the street, putting away valuables carried in a car by putting them in the trunk, etc. Moving targets. Convenience stores several decades ago began to implement drop boxes where they only keep a maximum of $50 in cash on hand. Identifying property by licensing vehicles, etching a car's VIN number on the car's parts, etc. Disrupting markets, monitoring pawn shops and street vendors for stolen merchandise. And finally, denying benefits by installing removable faces on car stereos, attaching ink tags to clothing, etc. To reduce the offender's provocation for committing a crime, we can reduce frustrations and stress, avoid disputes, reduce emotional arousal, neutralizing peer pressure, and discouraging imitation. We can also remove excuses for the crime. We can set rules. We can post instructions. We can alert the conscience. We can assist compliance and control for drugs and alcohol. Repeat victimization is the recurrence of crime in the same places and/or against the same people. People in places that have been victimized in the past have a higher likelihood of being victimized again than do people in places that have never been victimized. The best predictor for victimization is that the person or place has been victimized in the past. Repeat victimization facilitates the identification of patterns of opportunity and provides a focus for prevention, since those who have been victimized in the past should be at the top of the list for the targeting of preventive measures. There are 4 types of repeat victimization. First, true repeat victims. These are the exact same individuals and/or places that were victimized again. For example, the same residents living in the same house that was burglarized twice. Near victims. Near victims are victims or targets that are physically close to the original victim and share characteristics with the original victim. Burglary of several condos in the same community is an example because they are physically close but may also have the same door locks and physical design. Virtual repeats. These are victims or targets that are virtually identical to the original victim and share characteristics. For example, an electronics retail stores of the same name are victimized across cities or states are virtual repeats because they have similar, if not identical, store layouts, policies, and types of property. Also, new occupants of a place that was victimized in the past are virtual repeats. Finally, chronic victims, also known as multiple victimization, are individuals who are repeatedly victimized over time by various offenders for various types of crimes. Repeat victimization is also related to other ways in which crime clusters. Repeat offenders. These are individuals who commit multiple crimes. They can be individuals who specialize in one type of crime, for example robbery, or commit a variety of crimes. Hotspots. These are areas that suffer proportionally large amounts of crime. Areas can be hotspots based on one type of crime or a variety of crime. The size of the hotspot area depends on both the amount of crime and relative size of the jurisdiction. Hot targets are types of places that are frequently victimized that are not necessarily in the same area. Examples include beauty salons, convenience stores, daycare centers, bars, and fast food restaurants. Risky facilities. Risky facilities are individual locations that attract or generate a disproportionate amount of crime. Examples include a very large retail plaza or mall, a low-budget motel, or a high school. Hot products are types of property that are repeatedly victimized. Examples include cell phones, laptop computers, and weapons. The 80-20 rule. 80% of some kinds of outcomes are the result of only 20% of the related causes. The numbers 80 and 20 are used here only to represent large and small amounts. Actual proportions change in each analysis depending on the type of activity and nature of the community that occurs. This is true in many phenomena in nature, such as earthquakes and hurricanes. By identifying the small proportion of areas, victims, and offenders where a large amount of activity is concentrated, police can get the most out of their crime prevention efforts. Examples of the application of the 80-20 rule. We can, for example, look at repeat offenders. Most crimes are committed by a relatively small number of offenders. The same applies to repeat targets and victims, and repeat places or hotspots or risky facilities. But also repeat times. Crimes may also be concentrated in time. For example, DWIs on Friday nights. Displacement refers to the fact that a crime phenomenon can change by being moved to another time and/or place, or can take on another form. In a comprehensive review of crime reduction studies, Hesseling found that not one study had reported complete displacement of any activity. There are several types of displacement. Spatial displacement refers to the shifting of an activity from targets in one area to those in another. Temporal displacement refers to the shifting of an activity from one time to another. Target displacement is the shifting of the choice of one victim or target to a more vulnerable victim or target. Tactical displacement refers to the shifting of tactics by offenders. Although an enforcement strategy might result in displacement, it is much more likely to result in what we call a diffusion of benefits. Diffusion of benefit refers to a crime phenomenon which can change by being eliminated either partially or fully. Research has shown that crime problems can be eliminated through the application of the principles of situational crime prevention, which aims to reduce or remove the opportunities for crime, as we discussed earlier. Research also indicates that when targeted problems are successfully eliminated, other problems are also often eliminated. We'll end the chapter by discussing some key points about opportunity. These are some key features of the new theories of crime. Opportunities play a role in causing all crime. Crime opportunities are highly specific. Opportunities are concentrated in time and space. Opportunities depend on everyday movements of activity. One crime produces opportunities for another. Some products offer more tempting crime opportunities than do others. Social and technological changes produce new crime opportunities. Crime can be prevented through the reduction of opportunities. Reducing opportunities does not usually result in the displacement of crime. And finally, focused opportunity reduction can produce wider declines in crime, known as diffusion of benefits.